We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
With global pals, it's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything theater. Oh, it's so good to see everybody. Hi, I'm Benita Zahn.
and I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And we've got a lot of fun today. We always have a lot of fun, don't we, Ellen?
Oh, yeah, all the time. This is like the highlight of my day.
And we were saying, boy, it's been a little loopy, crazy, but there's so much. First of all, hats off to everybody in the local theater community. But we have had an incredible season in terms of the touring shows coming through Proctor's. And Mrs. Doubtfire at Proctor's running the 24th to the 29th of October. Now I'm going to do a little bit of the hoo-ha, but we've got hoo-ha with us too. Let me just the lead in the tour is Rob McClure, and it's kind of fun because the woman who plays his wife, who plays the character of Miranda Hillard, is his real life wife. It's Maggie Lakis. Well, somebody's got to be making sure that the show always goes on, and that would be Bianca Rivera. You got to pronounce your last name for me.
Yes. It's the last part is Arians. I'm Bianca Rivera Arians.
Arians. You know,
Yes.
I just didn't want to mess it up, Bianca.
I appreciate it. It's tricky.
This when you have a first name like Benita, I get it.
Gotcha.
But Bianca, it's great to have you join us. I want to start by asking, you've already done swing before. You were in Pretty Woman. You toured with that.
Yes, but I was never swing before. This is my first swing job.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
How's that been?
Oh my gosh. We have such a lovely cast, such a lovely creative team. I feel so much support, but it is a lot of information to take in.
So how many roles are you covering?
I cover 6. I cover the entire female ensemble.
Oh, my
I don't
goodness.
know,
I
but
know.
you've got enough trouble taking care of me.
It's been a journey, but I could not have done it with a better team.
So let's just start with the first challenge. They say to you, Bianca, you want to join the cast? And you
Yeah.
go. And then they said, but we want you covering 6 roles.
Yeah. So my audition process, luckily, it did say swing when I was going in for it. I was one of the later auditions. So I actually auditioned for this in June, right after the Pretty Woman tour. It was my first audition back. And I was coming into swing and cover the flamenco singer. And so I knew ahead of time that I was going to be covering a lot of roles. I saw a couple of snippets on their Good Morning America shows and previews. So I went in knowing, but I don't think I was quite prepared for how intense and how many things and moving parts the show has. It's a really magical show.
We've talked on the podcast with a handful of swings and about the huge challenge of that. So how do you keep it straight in your brain? And what do you do on a daily basis to keep yourself ready for, you got to go on now, Bianca?
Absolutely. So I do like tracking sheets. So basically I make mini stages, and for each person, I put where they are on the stage through the entire show, and I memorize those. And then I have a little binder that's color coded for every single person. And I write down if they have prompts, what vocal line they sing, because we do swing different vocal lines as well. And then if there's anything I know that will stop the show if I don't do it, traffic patterns with other people, if I need to give Rob McClure a pot or a chicken in the show, any of that stuff goes in my binder, and I take that with me backstage. And that's how I do every single person in the show.
During the run of the show, so curtain up, but it's not your night to be on stage. Give us a sense of what you do.
Yes, this is great. So sometimes I watch the show. Like we had 3 debuts yesterday, 2 swings went on for the first time. So I just watch because they're my friends and I'm so excited. And then normally during the show is I will hear the show on the page system coming from the stage to the dressing rooms. And I run the show as a single person. So I'll do their entire traffic and pattern all their choreo in a dressing room. It's marked and slimmed down, but that's what I do pretty much every show.
So do you pick one character per show that you will be doing since you're covering for 6?
Yes, sometimes I do so what's called a split track, where I'll do one person during one number and I'll switch to someone else in a different number. But for the most part, I try to focus on one and just get through their entire show and see if I have any missing pieces I need to be filled out later.
Now, rehearsal wise, do you get any time with the principal cast to like run things, or is it pretty much like we'll have a put in if we find out you need to go on?
Yeah, so we are actually gonna have a put in Schenectady, our first one, which is super excited. But what we've been doing is it's all the understudies. So all the Doubtfire understudies, all the Franks and the Andres, they've been getting their rehearsals. So then I go in and cover for those ensemble members that are going on in those rehearsals. So I've gotten to rehearse with them. I'm currently doing a split track between the Janet Lundy track and the Grace Kelly track. So I haven't gotten to do one all the way through, but I've gotten to pop in, fill holes whenever they need it.
Wow.
It's really, I always find that amazing to do that.
Yeah.
I can't even understudy, let alone I can't imagine doing a swing.
Right? To be on stage with Rob McClure and his wife, Maggie. Before I even follow up the question, okay, just that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I cannot think of two lovelier people on stage and off stage, so supportive, so kind to everyone all the time. And it is so important when you lead a national tour to leave with love and kindness and set that example. And they are the epitome of that. We are so, so incredibly lucky to get to work with them. And then on top of that, they are so wildly talented. I grew up listening to Rob, Something Rotten, Avenue Q, all of that. And it's kind of like a shock to see your like idol on stage every day. But they could not be nicer people. And this role is really built for Rob. It is astounding what he does every night.
What's the dynamic having a real husband and wife play those roles on stage?
It is, first of all, off stage, they're just the cutest couple to begin with. And then on stage, you wouldn't know because it really does feel like a divorce 8 times a week. But you hear them in the dressing room, like, hey, love you, have a good show. Like, it's very much that off stage. But what they bring on stage is very much a divorced couple.
There might be some therapy in that, Benita. I don't know.
Oh,
You said to me last night.
yeah.
Ellen and I have talked in the past about a man playing a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how the world has changed so dramatically in terms of that. And, you know, some of the discussions circled around Some Like It Hot.
Yes.
Which, having gotten to see it, sadly, it's closing now. I don't know why. But having seen it, the adaptation was so tasteful and really quite perfect.
Yeah.
I wonder, and I understand the construct of Mrs. Doubtfire. If anybody doesn't know, it's a divorced man, wants to see his children. He dresses up as a woman and is their nanny. That's pretty much.
That's it.
So that is the construct. Has there been any discussion around that?
Absolutely. So we wanted to make sure that we were being really sensitive specifically towards the trans community, making sure we were not offending anyone. And so the point of Mrs. Doubtfire is that she's trying to conceal her identity. Daniel is trying to conceal his identity so that way they don't know it's him instead of expressing himself through this character. So we really wanted to focus on that. We've had script adaptations, and this is our 4th version, I believe, from Broadway. So it's been working with different groups, different trans advocates, making sure that we are doing our part to make this show what it can be and not offend any of the beautiful community, because that is not our intention at all. And I think the way that Rob does get to play it 8 times a week, you feel that love, and it should not feel like a mockery. It is a comedy, but it is very much about Daniel concealing his identity and not expressing what he hopes to be.
And how about just taking something from film to stage? You know, Benita and I have unfortunately not seen it yet. We'll see it when it's here. It's Schenectady. But yeah, how, for our listeners, what I guess not spoiling too much, but what moments are they going to definitely recognize, or are there any fun new moments from the film?
There's a bunch of fun new moments. I think the characters get more fleshed out than I think we might have had time for in the original movie. And we talked about a little bit like this is now for a modern age and where we need to go from 1993 to now. So you'll get some fun new moments. You get to really get invested in some of the characters that you saw in the movie, and you'll still get those iconic moments. I don't want to spoil too much, but you will get to see the pie in the face. You get to see the hello. There'll be several iconic moments that'll make you nostalgic for the movie, but very much its own vehicle and material.
You're traveling with kids.
Yes, we are. They're incredible.
Yeah.
They're really incredible. The professionalism, and we're dealing with kids from 8 to 11, once turning 12. And they are rock stars. They are there at rehearsal. They know all their things. We have lovely guardians and nannies that travel with us. And we could not be any luckier with our kids. They're really wonderful, really wonderful.
Nanny's with them.
I'm sorry?
I said, they have nanny. I just realized my mic has been in a bad place. I probably sound terrible.
You're fine.
I said, so the show has a nanny, if you will, but the kids travel with their own nannies in this.
Yes, we have guardians, and they're just part of the company and part of the family, and we get to know them and build our own relationships with them as well. They've got a tutor that comes with us. Yeah, they've got a whole team, and they're all wonderful.
It's funny. I'm just working on a show that has a whole bunch of kids in it, and it's been a long time since I've done that. And the energy that these kids bring to the room, and I'm sure it's probably the same there. Where it's like, how,
It's refreshing. I find it so refreshing because sometimes like today I had rehearsal from 12 to 5, and then you go into another show and anything in between, but they are just always so on and excited. And I think that really brings the magic of the theater back and reminds me, I'm like, yeah, this is so exciting. We're doing a really cool show. So they're a breath of fresh air. It's really cool to work with them.
And logistically,
sorry.
I was just going to ask,
Go.
logistically, do you have multiple kids on the same role that they have to, what are the schedule, I guess, for working with those young actors?
They get, I think a couple weeks in advance. So we have 2 Natalies and 2 Christophers, and they're in pairs. So Cody and Emmy go on together usually, and Kennedy and Axel go on. And so they rotate like every other night is what's been going on so far. Everything's of course subject to change, but they rotate every other night. And in rehearsals too, they go in and out. One does one scene, another group does the other scene, but yeah, they switch a lot.
You got a background. You're a conservatory.
Yes, I am. I did go to Boston Conservatory.
Yes. And you've also got dance in your background.
Yes. I trained at the Strass Center in Tampa in ballet. And then when I went to college, I am a dance emphasis, which is basically a dance minor at my conservatory.
So you auditioned for a dancer who sings.
Yes, that's been part of my track. I originally left college thinking that it was going to be flipped, being like an actor who sings and dances. But after my showcase, I found what was working with me and my agents was going in for the dance calls. So I picked up my training again, and that's where I've been.
Because that's a question, that a lot of young folks have is, I got out of high school. I know I want to follow a career in theater, and looking at one's strengths and, kind of wading through that. And sometimes it becomes Sophie's choice. What do I put forward? What do I leave behind? What are you finding in the industry now? Is it the call greater for dancers or for singers?
I think it's getting so mashed. I think I've been in for so many calls where it does require very specific dance skill and speciality, especially like tap right now. We've got, Some Like It Hot. We had New York, and Spamalot coming, but you also need to be an excellent singer. So they're starting to really mash, and it's a lot harder to just have one focus. And we are moving back to beyond the triple threat or whatever people are using those words these days. You have so many things that you do. So I think it's really just going to be throw it all together and see what you got.
So what's your specials?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Ellen.
That's what I was thinking. In the past couple of years, I was like, yeah, it's not the triple threat. It's who's the person who can also play an instrument and juggle and fire breathe. And it just
Follow
seems-
swords from Moulin Rouge. There's so many skills that you can't get prepared for necessarily in a conservatory, and it's just going out there and working and finding what's happening.
So I think Benita was asking what's on your special skills list.
Oh, my special skills. I'm trying to think. So I'm a yoga instructor. So sometimes I put that on specifically for film and television. Sometimes I'm looking for that in a commercial world. And then I do a few accents. So in the show, I do a Southern accent, I do a Spanish accent. I also have RP British, and I'm Puerto Rican, so I have a Puerto Rican accent. And then I put like my dance stuff, sometimes depending on the call that I'm going in for. But those are my special skills for the most part.
It's always
It's
a tricky
just- yeah.
category, isn't it, Benita, to
Yeah.
figure out what to put on that special skills
Right.
list?
It depends
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of boring. Accents and viola. I ride a bike.
I think viola's awesome. And accents too. Dialects are very difficult.
In the past, I've written plays the nose flute because I was
Oh my
like, I
gosh.
just need
Wait,
something.
What does that mean?
It's an instrument. It's like a really weird instrument that you literally like hold up to your nose and you like blow out of your nose, and that's how you play it.
No way. That's
Yeah,
so
it's kind
cool.
of like whistling, but
That's
through
like
your
special
nose.
skills that, yeah. Like that's a conversation starter.
There you go.
Is that how you had your
Yeah.
first date, Ellen? It was that.
Yeah. That's how I led it.
But we're laughing. Let me tell you, someone's going to be looking at a load of resumes with 100 women who all are some variation of Ellen,
Mhm.
and then the guy's going to go, "Wait a minute, this chick plays the nose flute."
Yeah. Really? It makes you stand out.
How long are you going to be on tour for?
A year. Yes. So the tour has an extension, I believe, until December. So I should be on tour for a year.
And then where's home?
I'm originally from Tampa, but I now live in New York as of June 1st. So didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but I do officially live there now.
What was the gap from coming off of your last tour onto this one?
Oh my gosh, I got off. We ended in California, and that week I auditioned for this. And I booked it a couple weeks later, and then I started in August. So I did May, found out in June, started in August.
Wow. And how's
Yeah,
the
very
life
quick.
on the road? I mean, does it appeal to you? Do you want to proceed, continue on with tours, or do you like the idea of being stuck in one place?
This is my last tour. I think because of where I am in life, I have a partner. We're about to celebrate 6 years to next week in Schenectady. We're so excited. So if I didn't have my partner, I would be more open to touring. But we've been doing long distance now for about 5 years. So I'm ready to settle down, start a life in New York. And touring is hard. And I think my body could use a break, even if it's just for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is your partner also in theater?
We met in theater. We met doing Rent in high school. Yes. But he is now a software engineer for Meta.
Oh,
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
he's got a real job.
Yeah, he's got what we call here a muggle job.
Yes. You know what? You're pretty cool too. So,
Oh, thank you. Y'all are awesome.
how do you take care of yourself on tour?
Yes. So many things. One, hydration. Need to drink a lot of water, especially with the flying. I try to go to the gym as often as I can, work on that stamina. I do have old injuries just from dancing for a while. So making sure I'm in physical therapy every week, getting my stretching in, rolling out, using a massage gun. And then I try to keep up with my vocal practice as well. So I have my lovely voice teacher who does Zoom calls with me ever since my last tour. And he's amazing. So I try to do those once a month, warming up properly before a show, just making sure I'm there early, and sleep. A lot of people, just because our sleep schedules get really funky when you end a show, I'm sure you know at like 11 o'clock, you go back in, you've got rehearsal at noon. So just making sure that I shut down for the night after the show, get my rest, and get up and ready to do it all again the next day.
Yeah, it's a grueling schedule on the
It
tour.
really
Yeah.
is.
And shutting down after the show is a hard thing. As
Yes.
any performer knows, it's really tough because your
Mhm.
body's been coursing, with adrenaline to then
Yeah.
and just go home.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. We got different people that are like, "Oh, I was up to 2 a.m. because I needed to watch a show." I'm lucky that I usually get so tired that I knock out. So everyone has their own different routine.
Are there any places that you're excited to visit on this tour?
Oh my gosh, so many. I'm excited to go to Schenectady because I think that was one of my first wall tags. So I'm excited to go back and see. And then Tampa's home for me. I actually grew up training at our touring house down there since I was 5 years old. And so I am super excited. One of the first to go back in the theater program there. So I'll probably be super emotional, but I'm thrilled to be able to go back and have that opportunity.
All your friends, everybody gets to come see you, the family.
Yeah, my mom lives down there still, and my high school's across the street. So I have a lot of support and a lot of love, and I'm very, very excited to come back and show what I can do now.
At what point do you start planning for your next gig? So you've got
Mm.
just a few months, you want to be in the city. Give us a sense of, it's swing in its own right.
Yes, it is. So with this contract, I'll probably start 6 months until I have to go with this contract. So once this ends, I want to make sure I have something lined up. So I'll probably be doing a lot of self tapes as we get close to that year mark, just because that season will be casting as I'm doing that for when the show is over. So I typically do self tapes, my agents will send me, and then we have Mondays as our travel days. So if I can swing a callback on an audition, I'll fly back to the city for that day, then fly to the next city to do the show on Tuesday. So that is what my life will look like in the last like 6 months of this contract.
Any
Oh my
tips for
word.
our actors out there of how to do a successful self tape? Because that's becoming such a popular, method now, especially post COVID. A lot of people are like, "Yeah, we won't do in person. We'll stick with the self tape." So, what do you think are
Yeah.
the secrets of that success?
I'd say set yourself up for success. I think one of the pitfalls is really trying to give yourself a timeline. You want to take a few takes. Make sure you take like 3 or 4, I would say, but you don't want to burn yourself out trying to get it perfect, listening back. So I would say give yourself the best setup as well. So set aside a set amount of time. That's how long you're going to spend on it that day. Make sure it's not the day before it's due if you can help it. So you give yourself some leeway. Get a backdrop if you can, get a tripod so you have your setup, you know how you sound. Make sure you have, if you need to use your AirPod or a headphone to hear the music, make sure you've practiced before you just start putting yourself on tape. And I would say also just practice with the camera, making sure you know where you're going to look. Sometimes if I'm doing a scene, because I do a lot of straight acting as plays and film and TV, I'll put post-its so I have my different marks, and I make sure I'm not accidentally looking straight at the camera, because sometimes that creates a really weird relationship with the viewer. So all of those things I'd say, and sometimes you can't help it. I filmed self tapes at a hot tub once while on tour, just because I had nowhere to go. I'm dancing on concrete. I've danced on balconies. I've danced everywhere. So if you can give yourself a setup, if not, it's they just want to see you. As long as you are the focus, it's gonna be all right.
Do you mic yourself with a lapel mic or not?
I typically do. I have mine right here. um, I happen to be the social media captain for this tour. So I carry around my lapel mics just in case I need to ask cast members things if we want to do something on the Instagram or the TikTok. Um, Not everyone needs it, I'd say it's really helpful for singing, especially if it's a straight singing self tape, because that's becoming more common. They may not give you sides, they just want to hear what you sound like first. So I find the mic more helpful. I can control my volume, I can control my peaking on the mic.
A social media person on tour.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's something new that's being formed now, because that's how people are getting information. And I'm sure you know, since you have a podcast, like the way you reach out is completely different than it was, I'd say 5 years ago even. So yeah, it's a new role. But it's been a lot of fun and definitely learning along the way.
What kind
So
of
you
things
got
do you
dance
tend to?
captains, right? And social media captains.
Yeah.
I'm not the dance captain, thank
No, I'm not
goodness.
saying you.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying on the short, right? In the tour, you'll have in a show, you'll have a dance captain, but you also have a social media captain.
Yes, we do. We have both. We have a lot of captains just trying to delegate and get the information out as best as possible.
What do you find to be the most successful things to put up on social media? I mean, and that's, I know a lot of theaters here are like, how can we reach out more? So I'm very intrigued what you tend to put up there.
Yeah, people really just want to see the show. I think behind the scenes are super helpful. So doing those takeovers with theaters, asking questions. People want to know specific things. So if you can get the viewers involved by asking questions on your Instagram story, answering them, doing little challenges, they want to see how you interact as a cast as well. So I think any of those things and just being active and being responsive if people are commenting, make sure you see what they're interested in, what they want to see, taking that all into account. It's really about what the audience members want to see and making our show a really fulfilling and well-rounded experience, even if it's not in the theater.
Curious because it's something Ellen and I have discussed a lot between us and with our guests about building an audience and how it still tends to be an older white audience
Yeah.
and encouraging a multi-ethnic audience and a younger audience. So
Yeah.
when you do your, social media, does it pay off in terms of driving and engaging that younger audience, or are the older folks going, oh, look, are they adorable?
Yeah.
Give us a sense of who you're attracting that way.
I think social media tends to be a younger audience. Most of the fans that I interact with are younger, a lot of aspiring performers. We also have a unique situation where this was on Broadway and we kept the social media from it. So a lot of those fans are returning. So we have all age groups, all over the place. And I think it's really successful in bringing everyone in that way as well. So we are seeing quite diverse people interacting with our platforms.
So I just have to ask, because we're going to post, obviously. So what's your at so that we get you folks?
Oh my gosh. Well, my it's the letter B, and then it's my last name, Rivera Arians, which is River at an A, and then it's IRIONS. And I'm all over. It's because my last name seems to be a little unique. I get that tag on everything. So it's for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it.
And if we do at Mrs. Doubtfire, is that for the tour?
Yes, it's Mrs. Doubtfire on tour. That's our social media, and that's on TikTok and Instagram as well.
Ellen, we got to do more on TikTok.
We do.
Yeah, TikTok is a new domain, and it's completely, I feel different in terms of content creation. It's so much faster, the attention span that you'll get on like an Instagram reel or something like that.
Well, we just about reached the point where Ellen takes over because she's got a bunch of questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun. Okay.
So the last few minutes are just some kind of rapid fire questions all about you, Bianca.
Okay.
So we call this the close-up segment. So
Gotcha.
Bianca, are you ready for your close-up?
I'm so excited. Yes.
So what was the moment in your life when you just knew I have to do theater?
I was always a hobby until my senior year of high school. My mom actually applied for me to the Carnegie free college program. I got in and I did that program and I was like, I want to do this as a career.
So it sounds like your mom's very supportive. What did your whole family think when you said, I'm going to go perform?
My dad said, I don't know what that is, but you go, girl. And my mom wanted to be a ballerina. And so that she was always really hoping I'd be in the arts. Both my parents are business people. So it was, I think, really fulfilling and like a full circle for her to see me go into it as a career.
Is there a certain show that's had a huge impact on your life, whether something that you worked on or something that you saw?
Oh my gosh, so many. I would say the two, I grew up listening to Wicked, 5 years old, first soundtrack I ever had, first cast recording. And then Rent. It's the show that got me back in. I quit theater for a little bit because I was going to be a sprinter, professional runner. And I just did it. I played Mimi in high school and it brought back that love. So that really did change my trajectory.
Are you still running? I'm
Yeah.
jumping in.
No, I injured my ankle from years of point. It is not going to be as fast as I used to be.
Are there some bucket list roles on your list of things you got to do at some point?
Oh my gosh, so many. I would love to be Satina in Moulin Rouge, a little bit older. I have a lot of like older dream roles. I'd love to be Woman 5 in Hamilton and just cover all three of those sisters. That is a big dream. And then, oh my gosh, Natalie in Next to Normal would be so fun before I age out of that. So many things. And I'd love to redo Mimi and Rent and In the Heights. Vanessa or Nina would be one of my dream roles.
Is this an equity tour?
Yes, it is.
Are
I've been fortunate to do too.
Oh, good.
Yes.
This is kind of a silly one we like to ask sometimes of what's your biggest blooper you've had on stage or even one that you've seen?
Ooh, biggest blooper I've had. Let's think. We did in Pretty Woman. I had a costume malfunction. And I had to leave the stage because my top did come off. And so it was hanging down and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So I did have to walk off the stage and re-enter later during Adam Pascal's lines and stuff. You see me coming back in, but yeah, that was probably my biggest one.
Oh dear. What's your advice to young performers listening to this podcast of pursuing this life or being on tour or doing a swing track, whatever advice you want to give out to them?
Yeah. Find your inspiration and follow that. Don't try to replicate anyone else. You might have amazing idols in musical theater. There are so many talented people, but there's only really one you. And we already have those incredible people. So we're looking for something new. I want to be inspired by you. So find your inspiration and what moves you and what stories you want to tell and pursue that.
That's perfect.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for a lot of young performers to do that, don't you?
It's so hard. You grow up listening to them, you hear them on cast recordings, you're like, I want to be that when I grow up. But it's so important to maintain that sense of self because it is easy to lose in this industry as you play other people. But really maintaining that is, I think, the number one thing.
Do you see swinging again in the future, or do you think this will they'll burn you out a bit after a year?
I was just talking to our associate director yesterday about this, but I think I have a swing brain. This is kind of how I work. I like a little bit of that extra stress, a little bit of that extra stimulation. So I definitely think I could do it again and would be happy doing it. It's really fun to get all the costumes and wigs too, because you get to play everything.
Well, all the best, Bianca. Have an incredible tour and an after tour, and we'll keep tabs on you. And you've really just been so giving with all the info you've shared. Can't wait to see you on stage. I think Ellen and I will be the ones going.
Thank you so much. Y'all have been so wonderful. It was so nice meeting you.
Backcatcher should remind everybody that Mrs. Doubtfire plays at Proctor's Theater. It runs the 24th to the 29th of October. Get your tickets. Go have fun, laugh, and just be delighted. Bianca Rivera.
Arians.
I was just going to let you do it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Everybody, thanks so much.
Thanks, our listeners. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.